Welcome to the Timescales Interviews. I'm Grego, your host. This interview is being conducted and recorded in the United States and the United Kingdom. Today we have a very special guest, the extraordinary composer and musician, Andy Hardwick. Hi, Andy. How are you today?
Hi, how are you doing, Greg? Hi, good to see you.
Good. Thank you. Nice to see you as well, sir. Am I correct that you are currently located in England?
That's right. I'm in Leamington Spa in the Midlands in England, which is quite close to Coventry and Birmingham.
Okay. Spa. That sounds nice.
Oh, it sounds nice, yeah. No, it's quite nice.
Yeah,
very civilized.
So it's after dark there now, right?
It's after dark, yes, Friday night. So you'll excuse me if I sip on my glass of wine, but I've had a rough day.
So I'm not going to stop you. Do enjoy. Yeah, it's in the middle of the day here, almost noon here we're in the Bay Area, just outside of San Francisco.
All right.
Andy Hardwick is one of the most prominent and successful composers and musicians in the history of Doctor Who. For anyone that listens to Big Finish much at all, there's a very good chance that you've already heard his works. Andy has provided the music and post-production for over 90 Big Finish productions. Yes, that is 90, as in 90, not 19. And it appears as if the actual count is 94. If I were to try to read out the entire list of story titles, I think that alone would take me over 30 minutes. So I'm not going to attempt it, maybe later. Would you like to do that, Andy?
No,
you don't want to read them? Okay.
Well, it'd be shocking for me, I think.
Yeah. So, Andy, tell us who you are, where you're from, what drives and motivates you, things you love.
Okay, that's quite a list. Yeah, I'm Andy. I'm from Leamington Spa, as we established. I've been living in Leamington Spa, mostly Leamington Spa, and in this area for most of my life. So I've moved around a little bit, but mostly I've been here. And I'm still here now. I don't know what else to say about that bit, really.
So what kind of things do you enjoy?
I enjoy, mainly I enjoy music. It seems to be at the moment nothing but music and aeroplanes and red wine seems to be the only thing that interests me, to be quite honest.
Cool. Sounds like fun. You have a wine cellar?
No, I don't. No, but I have a very good local, good local guy around here, so get some nice stuff. But yeah, so no, it'd be an absolute disaster if I had a wine cellar here, because just end up living and dying there, basically. So.
Yeah. So, are you a pilot?
I actually did pilot training. I had to stop doing it because of my eyesight. But yeah, I think I've done about 30 hours in total. So I never actually got my pilot's license, but yeah, I've done a fair bit of flying. Luckily, up until a few years ago, I had a friend who had an aeroplane, so he used to take me up in it and we fly around.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just that. I mean, that's probably outside of music. That's the only other thing I seem to care about, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a nice flying's a nice feeling of freedom. I flew a Cessna Caravan a couple of years ago, where I don't have a license, but it was technically okay, because I was with a trainer.
It was technically okay. How?
Yeah, well, I had a train. There was a pilot that was also
had a pilot with you. Okay,
a trainer. Yeah, there were two of us. I definitely was not flying it by myself, and we took some skydivers up. That was really fun. There's nothing to make you more nervous the first time somebody hands the controls over to you to an airplane.
Right.
So let's start off by going to your formative years as a kid. Did you perhaps come from a family of music, where there was music on all of the time?
Yeah, I did. I mean, my father was a drummer in several big jazz bands, and he carried on playing in certain bands in the area as well. When we were growing up, and my mum was she did a lot of singing. She played piano. She did some big stage performances as well when she was younger. So yeah, I did come from a household full of sort of music and noise. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I've heard similar comments with the people that are into music, that it
Yeah, it
seems to be
rubs
quite
off. You can't help but it rub off, I guess. So yeah, yeah.
right. Okay. Has anyone in the past ever told you that you were a genius or that you have superior talent?
No, no, I
No,
think
no.
no, not really. No, only in sarcasm. If I've dropped something or something like that, yeah. Nobody's
Oh.
told me that. No, not really. No, no. I
Hmm.
think people have
Okay.
told me that they like what I do, but you know, nothing as flattering as that, unfortunately.
Hmm. That's
Uh,
interesting. That's
uh,
not what I expected here.
yeah,
I
my girlfriend says it. That's good. Yeah,
okay.
she knows the
That's
right
cool.
things to say. She knows the right things.
Were you a concert goer? A lot of music people seem to have great stories
Yeah, yeah.
about their younger days. Did you ever do the whole party crowd thing where tens of thousands of people are screaming and
Yeah,
watching
no, I
their
did.
favorite?
I went to quite a few, and also I played at quite a few as well. So when I was playing in bands, so yeah, I've sort of been around that kind of scene for not the last 10 or 15 years, but certainly from the age of my early teens onwards. Yeah, I was a lot of concerts and festivals, and yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. Well, let's talk about Doctor Who for a bit.
Mm.
Um, I well, the most I think a lot of people got deeply involved in Doctor Who during the pandemic, and myself included. I
Mm.
had extra time when it was too dangerous to even go to the grocery store. And during those days, I started listening to stories kind of for escapism, as anyone does with fiction.
Yeah.
And there's, I think a lot of other Doctor Who people did the same. And there was some point when I suddenly started to pay attention to who the authors were, like Andy Lane that I interviewed recently,
Mm.
and Will Hadcroft, who recently had his story published, The Resurrection Plant by BBC Audio. And these authors kind of taught me without meaning to do so that people really should pay more attention to the credits of what they're listening to or watching.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why, I started paying more attention to the credits. And around that time, I started to see your name more and more. I would look at a story sleeve and go, "Oh, Andy Hardwick's on the music. Okay." And, that made me know this is going to be solid because I've never heard of,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I've never heard a Big Finish Doctor Who story where I have any critique of the music whatsoever when it has your name on it. It was kind of, to me, it's a guarantee. Like Howard Carter, him also. And I'm sure there's many more that I do love. I just don't recall the names right now. But it's my understanding that you're not a traditional Doctor Who fan,
No.
yet your music credits go back to the very beginnings of
Yeah.
Big Finish.
Yeah.
Uh, and when initially communicating with you, when I asked if I could interview you, you mentioned getting into the place that you are through your old buddy Russell Stone.
Russell Stone. Yeah.
Yeah, and hence Gary Russell, the
Yeah.
original Big Finish producer
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did all of that go down?
Russell. I mean, Russell. I've known for so many years. We used to be in a band together. Just after he
Oh,
came out of
really?
university. Yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah. And so that I knew him from that. So we had actually done music together in the past. Um, and then after I left college and finished mucking about, and I ended up setting up a recording studio with a friend. We built a recording studio,
Hmm.
and one of the things we were doing was Russell. This is a few years gone past. Russell had learned about these guys doing Big Finish audios, because I think he had friends who were involved with guy Craig Hinton. Is that a name that you
I've heard of that. Yeah.
yeah, he
Who
was
is who is Craig Hinton?
yeah, Craig Hinton. I think they have a shared house together, I think, at some point. So yeah, Craig Hinton, and then Gary Russell. All these people were connected. I didn't know them, but he heard about the Big Finish thing, and I think Nick Briggs had actually got in contact with Russell via Gary or Craig Hinton and said, "Oh, do you fancy doing some music on these?" So Russell said to me, "Oh, I'm going to do music for Doctor Who. It's going to be great. It's going to be great."
Nice.
And he actually came into my
Nice.
studio and we recorded all the cues for him because he didn't have the equipment to do that. And then that was a successful. I guess that was what was the production called? It was one of the. It's probably only the fourth or fifth one. Was it Red Dawn? I think it was. It was a Pete
Red Dawn.
Davison one.
And I'm sorry. Did you say Nicholas Briggs?
Yeah.
He's one of the original Big Finish. Yeah, I think he was there from the very beginning. In fact, he's
it was him.
He's the voice of the Daleks.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. It was himself, Gary Russell, and Jason Haigh-Ellery was the kind of financial clout between it, I think. But I think they were all Doctor Who fans, and they all got together and said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we did this?" I think Gary and Nick had. This is out of my depths really, but they'd already be doing something. I can't remember what it was called.
It was called Audio Visuals. I know which one you're talking about.
That was it.
It was.
That was like the real fan tape level, but I think they were doing it quite well. And they said, "Why don't we take this a step further and actually get actors in and do it?" And they did it. And I just thought, well, that's incredible. So I mean, it wasn't really my scene, but it was very much Russell's scene, because Russell was a big Doctor Who fan from first moment I knew him. And Gary phoned me one day and said, "Oh, do you think you could have a go at this?" And I mean, we're freelance, so when somebody offers you work, you just say yes, we could do that. So myself and my business partner at the time, Gareth Jenkins, who has also done a fair few of the Big Finish productions with me, I said, "Oh, do you think we can do this?" And he said, "I don't know, you're just going to try." And so we got the job of doing the sound design for Winter for the Adept, which is one of the very first, one of the very early Big Finish stories.
Yeah, that was the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the first thing we did, and then of course Russell did the music for that, and he helped guide us a little bit on how these things should sound, because we didn't know, and I think it turned out all right. I mean I've not listened to the thing for years, but I think people liked it, and yeah, Gary Russell was pretty happy with what we were doing, and hence we got given stuff like The Holy Terror and Chimes of Midnight, and some real classics we got to do.
Oh
as
yeah.
Well.
Yeah,
and all with Russell doing the music, because I mean he's a fantastic composer. He doesn't really do it anymore, but I think he's done so. I mean, the Chimes of Midnight is the classic. I think it's the one that people still talk about. I don't know if that's what you heard.
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard that. When picking stories, I like to read ratings, and Chimes of Midnight is one of the highest rated Big Finish stories ever.
Oh, it was an absolute joy to do. The script was astonishing, and I felt like, oh my god, I don't want to break this. This is perfect. It was one of those scripts where you read it and it was alive on the page already. So all I've got to do is try really hard not to break it. But Russell just did this amazing music score for it. So that helped me out immensely, because I think the atmosphere there all comes from Russell's music on that one. So, but yeah, those were the early days for Big Finish. For me.
Okay. I remember the audio visuals because somehow I got my hands on one of those tapes back in it was back in the late 1990s, and Doctor Who had been off for so long that I was trying to find anything new, and I found somebody in England where I purchased a blank tape and they copied the story onto it for me, and I paid for the postage, and then they mailed it to the States. Those were called by fans for fans. That was never commercial. That was all was a non-profit venture.
It was,
seems there was a lot of people that you still hear of today that were involved in those.
I mean, this is what it was like when Russell said, "Oh, they've asked me to do the music for one of these things," and I said, "Well, yeah, let's hear it." And I heard it, and I thought, "This sounds like a movie. This is something really special these guys are doing." It sounded so good. I think they had the guy Alistair Locke, I think, did the sound design for Red Dawn.
Yes,
and I thought, I thought this was just some fans doing a bit, but this is the real thing. Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton, and yeah, okay, this is amazing. And I thought, wow, I'm not a Doctor Who fan per se, but I thought this is really special what they're doing. They're bringing this back, something so iconic and precious, and they're bringing it back, out of pure love. And I thought I was really impressed with the product, as it were.
Yeah, very well put. They've done an outstanding job. In fact, there's an extremely strong argument that Doctor Who may not have ever come back to television if it was not for Big Finish. I've heard that so many times.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So, when you're composing, what are your preferred instruments?
That's a difficult one to answer. I compose literally with an electronic keyboard, and a bunch of orchestral samples and stuff. So the only thing I'm sort of a one-fingered keyboard player. I can't play keyboards at all. I just
Wow.
one finger at a time, which kind of works when you're doing orchestral music, because I guess orchestras, or every section on the whole only plays one note at a time. So I hear it in my head and I try and find it on the keyboard, and that's my method.
So you're not
it's,
actually,
it's really, really strange.
well, uh, doing something genius is never strange.
Gee, I'm just gonna keep calling you.
um so what, I can't play piano. I've always had the dream and goal of becoming a pianist, and for some
Yeah.
reason I spent my entire life always knowing in my heart that I was going to be good at piano. And then when I started to play, I never could play with two hands. So I'll come back to that.
So you couldn't play guitar or anything?
Yeah, I played a guitar when I was young, in our church. But the method that was used to teach us was something that was very non-standard. In fact, I don't even remember what it was called now. In fact, I don't even know if I could still play the guitar. My parents still have it. So I know where it is. I can get my hands on it. So what are some of your works that are not related to Big Finish or Doctor Who?
There's not many of them in terms of music or anything like that. Most of the work that I've done over the last 30 years, it's been in a recording studio, which is something we had to stop operating about 10 years ago. So that's mostly what I've been doing. I've been recording and producing and mixing, and also playing in bands as well.
Okay.
So the Big Finish thing was kind of on the side. It was on the side. So we myself and my friend built this other recording studio, and we have an extra studio upstairs. And Gareth, who was also a big Doctor Who fan, coincidentally, my business partner, we set him up upstairs, and he was doing all the sound design for Big Finish that they were giving us. I was downstairs recording bands and mixing, and then doing music when I'd got breaks in between that. So I was doing the music for the Doctor Who, and it was working like that. So we had like a multifunctional studio doing it. But it was just something we were doing on the side. But like I say, we were both so impressed with what Gary and Nick and Jason had done. Actually creating these audios, we were really, really happy to muck in as well. So.
Okay. Now I'm glad that
most of my work has been as a recording engineer and producer, and yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that you mentioned Gareth and that company, because that's something I had intended on asking you, and I would have forgotten. What is the name of that?
The studio?
Is it EMS or something like that?
ERS, yeah.
ERS.
ERS, yeah, which is a kind of abbreviation of Excel Recording Studios, which is what we called it initially. But
okay.
Called it ERS in the end, yeah. I mean, that's something that myself and a mate started back in 1990, just after college, I think. So.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Do you have any hobbies that are not related to music? I'm trying to get into the mind of somebody that is I consider to be a musical genius. I'm wondering what other things you mentioned. You mentioned airplanes. Would you call that a hobby?
Well, it used to be, yeah. I mean, it's not anymore because for medical reasons and the fact that it's too expensive, and I can't afford to do that. It's so expensive.
Yeah, airplane fuel.
It's worse over here now. So
yeah. Airplane fuel is extremely expensive. I think you can take off in a Cessna over here right now, and it's going to cost you $150, $200 just for a 30-minute flight or something like that. It may even be worse than that.
You're looking about 250 quid over here.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how expensive airplane fuel is. Okay, so has your success always come with a Midas touch where everything you touch just turns to gold, or was there ever a downside? And the reason I ask this is that other artists, actors, and authors in particular have told me that they've experienced something known as rejections, something that you may propose, often feeling with all of your heart that it's the best thing ever, only to be told no or flat out ignored and just not hired. Have you ever experienced rejection in your career? And if so, how did you deal with it?
I've experienced lots and lots of rejection. Yeah, I mean that's part and parcel of doing what we do. I think it's most of the time, most of the stuff you do, nobody wants. It's you get lucky. I mean, you talk about Midas touch and success and stuff. It's like that's really not how it's been for me. It's so wonderful to hear you say that. I wish that was how things were, but it's just a lot of hard work, and then hopefully, some of the stuff that you do, people will like, and it will get
Okay.
put out there, and you'll get paid for it as well, because there's also the added problem of having to eat food and pay your rent and stuff. So
Right, right.
it's but yeah, I think rejection is a big part of it, and yeah, I mean it's also when as a recording engineer and a producer and that kind of thing, same kind of rejections, there's always somebody comes along and does it better than you can. It's always, no matter what you do, there's always somebody around the corner who's going to do it better for whatever
Yeah,
reason. So
yeah.
and you just get used to it. It's a really weird thing, because you try and you say, well, it's just a job, isn't it? It's a job, so you just chase the next job. But the thing with music is it's quite personal, so it's really, really hard to kind of travel between the bit that's the job and the bit that's personal. Because if somebody says, no, your music, I don't like it, and you go, oh, that's all right, I'll have somebody, but it's also an insult as well, it's like
Right.
I thought my music was all right there, no.
Did you ever read online reviews? Do you ever find critique of your
I
music
I
online?
I don't. I think I remember a friend telling me years ago, don't read your own reviews, because you'll end up chasing them. If they're good, you'll chase them, and if they're bad, you'll chase them. So the best thing you can do is not read them. But somebody pointed me at a review about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know why. They said, "Have you read this?" And somebody said, "Was it Andy Hardwick's music is so boring and repetitive that if I see his name on a production, I'll definitely not buy it."
Oh, that's
That's
terrible.
the
That's
exact
terrible.
opposite to what you're saying. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God, that's really horrible. And I thought, well, yeah, that's fair enough. That might be the case. But if somebody's writing that down, I think they've got an issue with something else, But
yeah,
you think, well,
exactly.
this is why you should never read your own reviews. Because if you read that on the wrong day, you just broken up with a girlfriend or something, or your dog's died or something, it's going to really
Yeah.
break your heart, isn't it? Because it's with music, it is something that's precious to me. I mean, when I'm making a big piece of music, I almost feel like it's my baby. It's alive, and so to hear somebody say, "Oh, that's crap," and just erase it, if you forgive my language there. But yeah, it's so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's a hard thing to do. But I mean, the way I've come to think of it, through necessity, is that yeah, it is personal. But at the end of the day, it's a job. I'm doing this because I love it. I'm lucky enough to do something that I love and get paid for it. But at the end of the day, I do need to be paid. And that is
right.
sadly, that's the important part.
Well, the interesting thing about online reviews is I am really surprised that people would give as much credibility to them as they do, because first of all, if you take this person that wrote that review saying that they don't like Andy Hardwick's work and they're not going to buy anything that's got his name on it, well, who reading that review even knows who the hell that person is? Or what is their experience in music to make them
Well,
qualified to even critique you?
yeah,
Um,
it's not about, yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean the way I explain that is, it's not about whether somebody's got any experience in music or anything. It's whether they enjoy the product.
right.
And so it's like you say, it's really nice that you say you started getting interested in looking at the credits, who's done this, who's written this, and who's done the music and sound design. But at the end of the day, the whole thing's supposed to be an illusion. We're supposed to be picking people up and putting them into a different world, for an hour or
Exactly.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
They don't need to know the technical details, and it's great if they want to. That's wonderful, but it's
Hmm.
it's the product. It's all about the product, isn't it? If the product worked and you thought, oh wow, that was a great hour and a half, then it's that. So if people are saying nasty things about the music and that kind of thing, if it's generally because that the music was enough to put them off the product, then yeah, okay, that's fair enough. That's how they experienced it. That's fair enough.
Right.
But I don't know, that's just the way I think of it anyway. It's got nothing to do with whether they know anything about music. It's just got to do with whether they enjoyed it. But what I mean is that when I read that review that somebody sent me, I thought, oh no, that person's obviously got a problem with something else. You know, it's kind of,
Yeah,
I don't think my
exactly.
music on there could have been that bad, because Ken Bentley wouldn't have allowed me to put it on there, you know, the director.
Right.
So yeah, and
Right.
I was a bit surprised to see it. Yeah. But you
Yeah.
know, but you think, well, you know, that's why it's best not to look at the reviews, because you might do it on the wrong day. You know?
Right. Okay, gotcha. Like I told you yesterday, I went and listened to every single uh work of music that you have graciously provided to anyone and everyone on you know, on you have put out so much stuff free on your YouTube channel, and it was one of the funnest and best days of music that I've enjoyed in a long time.
That's wonderful to hear. I
It
can't
was
believe it.
all day long Andy
Wow.
Hardwick music, and at times there was a couple they weren't special to me, but I have my own types of music that I like.
Mm.
But there were some that I absolutely totally loved. I loved all of it. But some I was absolutely astounded by. I really wish that I had that type of a musical ability. But what I noticed was, and other people, they need to go to YouTube and listen to your music that you've put up to share with people. And we're going to put a link down to the bottom.
Thank you.
For people listening to this as a audio stream, just go to YouTube and type in Andy Hardwick. It's that simple. And
well,
for people,
Andy Hardwick music, I think, because you get so
yeah,
much
Andy Hardwick music.
Andy
And
Hardwick.
so for people that are watching the video of this on YouTube, just scroll down and we'll put a link right there that goes right to his channel. So what I noticed was an extremely broad range of talent by you, from things that sound inspired to sounds that are so original that it was obvious that only one human mind could have come up with what you have. And when I asked earlier if you might have had anybody like a teacher or a mentor ever tell you that you have genius, I really wasn't joking. Um, and I'm extremely impressed. And obviously, Big Finish is impressed because you're about to have your own centenary. Because at the rate you're going, it's not going to be long before you've got over 100 stories with them. And so I think that they believe you're genius. Would
I'm not sure about that. Well, thank you.
So,
I mean, like I say, I've never, no one's ever told me that I'm a genius, but there were a couple of teachers in my what we call the middle school over here. So I guess it's between the age of I think between 7 and 12. I think the middle school, and we did a production. We did several productions, theatre productions. And we did the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So they put a band together for it, and they let me play the drums. And of course, because my dad was a drummer, I got to borrow some drums from him and stuff. And that seemed to go down really well with one particular music teacher there. And so he was really encouraging. And also the headmaster of that school was very encouraging as well. And they actually wrote it on the school report. This guy said, I think this boy will have a future in music. He actually wrote that, you know, when I was 10
okay, there you go.
I thought, yeah, great. You know, that's what I want, because I think that's what I always wanted anyway. So it was nice to hear that. But yeah, I think the first person outside of any sarcasm who's called me a genius is probably you.
Well, that's really surprising. Maybe there's a difference in the word genius in the States and in England. I've noticed that there's a lot of surprising variations in what things mean. But for somebody to have their name on that many credits with Big Finish, that alone is genius. So I'm really surprised. I can't believe I'm the first person that ever told you that.
No, people have said nice things, but nothing to that
extent. They just use different words to do it. So
yeah, but I mean, no one's been. You know, it's I don't think anyone's been madly ecstatic about it, but they've liked it, and I've been paid, so it's. I'm thinking, well, it must have been doing something right, you know. But there's so many other there's other composers for Big Finish as well who are kind of more talented than I mean, more musical training than me and stuff. So I feel a little bit kind of that I'm below par with some of the other guys with Big Finish. I think they've got that guy, a guy from the States, can't remember his name. He did the score for one of the with Tom Cruise, the Mission Impossible films. I think he's done a few of the Big Finish productions now as well. So he's like a proper real composer. And I'm not. I'm just an idiot with a computer. But he's the real thing, And so I feel carrying down a little bit. And I think that there's another guy Big Finish uses a lot, which is Howard Carter.
Howard Carter.
I think I don't listen to that much of any of it, but what I've heard of what he does is exceptionally good.
I consider you to be on the exact same level as Howard Carter.
It's so flattering. So flattering because I listen to what he does and I think, well, no wonder he's getting all the jobs and I'm not, to be quite honest, because I just think he's the real thing. He really sounds like he knows a lot about orchestration and melody and counterpoint and all the things you're supposed to know about. That I really don't. So I just bang things and hope for the best. It's all I do.
Well, you're doing an exceptionally well job, because if you had not told me that, I would consider if I had to pick 5 different composers with Big Finish, you would be in the top 3 for sure. I don't know where. I think you and Howard Carter are even in my mind from what I've listened to, because when I see your names, I have immediate confidence that, okay, I'm not going to have to worry about the music and the sound on this, because this is going to be awesome. And I know that you had mentioned Nicholas Briggs, one of the people that had been with Big Finish. I know he used to do music. He might still do music, and he's good. He's good as well. I wish that I had looked up more of the names of the Big Finish composers, because I wish I could share with you the other ones that I believe are rock solid. But you're in the top 3 if I had to make a list of 5. So, and I don't see how anything could change my mind about that. What are your what are your favorite genres of music?
I used to have favorite genres of music, but I don't anymore. I've listened to so much of it and I'm always listening to music. I don't think I have a favorite genre. I just keep hearing more and more and more stuff all the time, and the more and more things that I like, that I can't even pinpoint that anymore. I mean, I used to be guitar based. I was always in bands playing guitars, playing bass, and that was my thing. So sort of writing jangly pop songs, that kind of thing. But over the last 20 years, especially since we got involved with Big Finish and stuff, it's just become this mash of music from all different directions, and I can't tell the difference between one genre and another now. It's just like all the time, it's wonderful. But
it's very, very interesting.
You can pick out what's I listening to recently. I was listening to the Cranberries, but I was listening to God, my memory's so bad for names. Anyway, I was listening to quite an iconic guitar band from the 90s, an American guitar band who we all loved back then. I'm thinking I can hear all the stuff in here that I like in classical music as well, all the dissonances and I don't know the names for them, and how all the things intertangle and the reason why bits are exciting and bits aren't, and it's all the same in classical music. When I can pick out in a symphony that's the same reason that's making that song work that's in that symphony that was written 200 years ago. This whatever combination of notes and tempo and they summon up the same emotions, and it doesn't seem to matter to me anymore which genre of music it's coming from. To be quite honest, it's
okay.
It's just incredible to hear all these different notes playing with each other in so many different ways. It's it's a malaise.
I'm hearing some love for classical here. Have you ever made the pilgrimage to Salzburg, Austria?
No, I'd love to.
Yeah.
No, I've not been. No.
A lot of homage to Mozart there.
Yeah.
Is there a best composer or musician in world history?
I don't know. I don't know what best means. I mean, I'd say composer-wise, one of the composers that really, really, really interests and excites me was the guy Shostakovich, the Russian composer, who just, I don't know what he was doing. He was operating some real, that's genius. Shostakovich, to me, that's genius. I don't know, but he just put a whole load of what sounded like dissonant noises together, and they created a wonderful harmony. And there was one day years ago, Gareth Jenkins, my partner at ERS Studios, we sat there and we transcribed one of Shostakovich's symphonies, and it was amazing to hear the weird bits and bobs that had gone into making the whole thing. It was incredible. And I'm thinking, yeah, that was a man who's some kind of bizarre mathematics going on in his brain. Just an absolutely amazing composer.
Could we clarify his name? What exactly is his name again?
Shostakovich. I forget his first name. He was a Russian composer towards the end of the end of the 19th century, and I can't remember when he died. And yeah, he's written some incredible symphonies, a lot of which he was sort of forced to write for the obviously for the Russian. The Russian government out there, whatever they were called back then, and you can hear the sarcasm in the music when you
really.
Oh yeah, absolutely amazing, and I don't know how he got away with it. So he wrote these big pompous themes in the Leningrad Symphony, and it was clearly kind of like these pompous Russian, and it was just taking the Mickey, as we call it. He really was, and they didn't get it, but they commissioned him to write these things. And I don't know. I wish I knew more about Shostakovich. I mean, I think at one point he was in trouble with the authorities. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, that is, if you ever want to check out an interesting classical composer, Shostakovich, definitely.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the stuff that John Williams wrote. I mean, John Williams, what an amazing film composer. And that's the first time I was ever really struck by film music, was when I went to see Star Wars when it first came out when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And to me, that music was the sound of the spaceships. It was that music. They were making that noise. I mean, that's how I thought of it. But at that age, I thought those spaceships are making that music. And I still kind of think like that. It's really, really weird. I've got some kind of weird, strange routing in my brain where I think that. It's the space. It's that big shot at the beginning of Star Wars where the credits start rolling on the first one, A New Hope, and that big star cruiser goes overhead, and the theme tune comes in for the first time. You actually get to hear da 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 da. It's going. I'm thinking that spaceship is what's making that music. Is what I came back from that film thinking, and I think that changed me completely. Just seeing that, it's like, wow, can spaceships really make music? So
that is very interesting.
It's a really weird experience, but yeah, but I still get that now in things as well. It's really strange, It's the music is it can be such an important character in the story, to the point where it might not even be a person. It might be one of the big ships or something glorious. It's got its own theme. So yeah, it's I have trouble differentiating between which reality and music. It's kind of weird.
Well, I wouldn't try to call it a trouble differentiating. I would call it a talent of being able to link them together, and that's a very interesting way of thinking that you have there. With
therapy or something.
No, you need more.
Tell me about your childhood.
I'll tell you what, with Star Wars, I don't know that I believe that music is so important in everything that if John Williams had not done that, I think there's a very good possibility that Star Wars would have never been renamed A New Hope, because it was only called Star Wars when it came out, and it might have ended up on a dusty store shelf on a Betamax video cassette, and just be a B movie today that nobody's ever heard of. I think that there's a possibility that could have happened had George Lucas not had the luck of
Yes,
hiring
it
John
wasn't foresight,
Williams.
it was luck. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you are so right. I mean, that film is that music. It really, really is. And obviously, it's not just that music, but it's without that music, it would be nothing. It's interesting. I mean, I was lucky enough to attend a dinner with one of the stars of that film, who I shan't mention, and said that they were actually shown the film in its entirety before the music went on. And it was like, oh God, what have we done?
Yeah.
Done. And you can imagine that if you turn the sound down.
Yes.
But as it goes as the whole, the music just ties it together, and it's glorious. It's so glorious. It's so good going back and watching the original cut of that film. I'm not that much of a fan about what George Lucas did to it later on. He should have left it as it was, but it's his work, wasn't it? So it's up to him. But as a whole, it's a lovely piece of work. But yeah, it needed all those bits, but mostly it needed the music. And the music is, and like I said, to have that effect, maybe it's just on one idiot kid like me, but I actually thought that those spaceships were making that noise. It's I didn't think they were, but that's how it felt. It felt like that spaceship was playing that music, and to me,
I'm understanding. I'm understanding what you're meaning there. I get it. And that right there. I think if that was the only answer that I got from you today, that right there is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to understand how your mind works, and thank you very much for explaining that. That's
You're welcome.
I'm actually never going to forget that now. So all right, now going back to Doctor Who, where you've done a massive amount of works for Big Finish on the main range, the special releases, the Fourth Doctor Adventures, Philip Hinchcliffe Presents, another masterpiece, the Sixth Doctor and Perry, the Eighth Doctor Adventures, Classic Doctors and New Monsters, Dark Eyes, Unbound, and from what I've been able to find online, Dark Eyes seems to be a masterpiece in everyone's eyes. In fact, that's an award winner, isn't it?
Yes, it did. It got the best non-broadcast online drama, didn't it? I think something like that.
Yeah,
BBC,
it was
BBC Drama Awards. Yeah.
It was the BBC Audio Drama Awards Committee. And here's a comment that they made. People's History, Fantasy, and High Drama. The winning entry was outstanding in every respect. A complex, gripping narrative made visible through three-dimensional characters in believable relationships, some fine acting, and some superbly orchestrated soundscape, which never overdoes the atmospherics or signposting of changes in time and place. Above all, it manages its historical and fantastical elements seamlessly, and for a brief period, time is suspended for the listener. And you did the music and sound design.
Well, yeah, I must admit I did read that comment at the time, but yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I think it's that very last bit they said time is suspended. This goes back to what we were saying slightly earlier. Is that if you can get so engrossed in something you forget where you are. I mean, that shows that everybody involved in this has done the right thing, and they've taken you somewhere else. So
right.
Yeah, I remember thinking, oh, that's really nice when they said that was really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that was I've got to say, with Dark Eyes, that's probably one of the best things I've ever done. I mean, I listen to it now and think, oh God, I could do that so much better now. But it was, for the time, I mean, the writing by Nick Briggs was astonishingly good. It was really amazing. And Nick told me, he said that Paul McGann was so into it at the time as well. He actually put some of his own time into it to a certain extent, because he was really committed to the script, and it was something he was really interested in as well. So I think it's just one of those moments that really works out nicely. And yeah, I had such a ball doing that. It was great. Right.
Okay.
I'd love to do something like that again, but there you go.
I think you will. I honestly believe that you will. So do you ever try to adapt music and sound to specific characters, with an example being Murray Gold with Rose's theme. In fact, I think each of the characters had a theme. The Doctor had their own theme. Do you do that?
Not so much, no. I think I did when, certainly with the Eighth Doctor stuff, when Lucy first turned up. Yeah, she's got a theme, and that theme runs throughout all those Eighth Doctor audios with Lucy Miller. That's definitely a theme I had for her, and also for Molly in Dark Eyes as well. I did a theme for her because they were new characters. But I don't tend to want to do it for anybody else, and I don't tend to want to do it for the Doctor because the Doctor's already established. So I don't feel the need to do that. But if a big new major character comes along that you know is going to be staying for a while, like Lucy Miller or Molly in Dark Eyes, yeah, I did really specific themes for them, and their themes you can hear them throughout they pop up as, I think they call them leitmotifs, don't they, or something? It's yeah, so I do that, but maybe not as much as Murray Gold does, because I think he does tend to write a theme for a character and it keeps cropping up over and over again, doesn't it? I don't know. Lots of people do it that way, which is great, but it just doesn't tend to be the way that I end up doing it. I don't know why.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I'm going to be listening for that. In fact, I'm gonna go back to Lucy Miller.
Yeah,
the ones that you worked.
If you don't hear the Lucy film, then I'll think, oh, I haven't done my job properly. But yeah, there's
no, I'll pick up on it. I wasn't looking for it before, so I'm gonna go back to that.
And the same for Molly as well. But that's the only two I can think of where I've really made a point of doing that. So, yeah.
Okay. Now on this next question here, I was going to ask you about the music of Sigyn. I do not know how to pronounce his name. Sigyn Akinola, I believe, is the current composer. Well, I say current, that Jodie Whittaker era just ended Sunday, but he was. And I am not criticizing his music at all because I think he is excellent. But I think that what may be unfortunate right now with modern television is that there's not a lot of incidental music on anything. And as you're probably aware of, Americans copy so many British television programs that it's ridiculous. A lot of people here don't even realize that what they may love watching on television is not original American content, that it a lot of it came from England or the UK. And so our television has been affected by that as well. And I'm not sure who started it, whether it started in England or here, but I think it's unfortunate because if you take a look at the Murray Gold era and the Rose theme, for example, that is exciting. However, if you look at the Jodie Whittaker era, it's very, very quiet. And when you do get incidental music, to me, it sounds like some deep, undulating, almost depressing sounds. And do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I'm gonna. We might have to edit this bit because this is the bit where I have not actually seen one single episode of Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And there's nothing surprising about that.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, but yes, I've noticed it in many productions. And I think this is the Hans Zimmer effect to a certain extent. Hans Zimmer being astonishing as he is, but if you listen to, I mean, you're talking about the John Williams way of doing things, writing themes for characters, that kind of thing. So I mean, Star Wars is just nothing but a bunch of themes for characters and action. It's just, but it all the way through, you've got all these undulating, connecting themes, and they're all character themes, which is probably why we love all the characters so much. Well, apart from that Jar Jar Binks, but
right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you write for that. But yeah, no, I've noticed it an awful lot now, and I think a lot of it is because people are buying they're buying licensed music. It's a lot cheaper to just buy some licensed music. So you buy a music pack maybe, and you pay a fixed amount for it. And then you just the guy who's putting the thing together just throws the music in where he thinks it should go. There's a lot of that going on. So rather than actually getting somebody in to write a bespoke music score for a program or a series or a season, they're just getting a bunch of music cues and just throwing them in maybe. And so I don't know anything about like I say, the current state with Doctor Who and stuff. But I have heard people say, "Oh, the music's it's like Hans Zimmer. It's just in the background. It's like just a padding all the time. This constant padding. It doesn't seem to relate to anything that's happening. It's just this constant drone that goes through." And this is the Hans Zimmer thing. This is the Hans Zimmer effect. But with Hans Zimmer, he's got a whole team of people and he makes it exciting. But at the end of the day, it's just a load of noise and it's a load of drone. But it's really difficult to make that kind of thing exciting. But if you just do it a bit and throw it in, it doesn't have an effect. It's not a character. It's potentially even a distraction if there's just this unconnected drone that seems to be going through everything. So
yeah.
And yeah, so I've heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas, like say with Murray Gold, he was very much writing character things, and so that gives everybody more identity, and it makes you relate to the characters, I think, if that's done properly. So that's probably what you're referring to.
It's not only what I was referring to, but thank you for helping me understand what it was that I didn't like about it. Now I understand because you just explained it, and
right.
I
feel really bad. No, please don't show this bit. Then, well, I feel really bad that I've this composer that I've not even heard. So it's I can't. I've not even.
Well, I hope that it changes soon. Back in the early reboot of the series, the music was absolutely excellent, and maybe that just spoiled people like myself. I think that Murray Gold is going to be back because with Russell T Davies coming back, I think he's going to bring Murray Gold with him.
And Russell T Davies goes, Murray goes as well, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah, you're not the first person that said that, and I think that there was already a sneak preview that proves it, because I think that there was an announcement or some trailer or something from BBC that just came out a couple of days ago, and I was watching it and I'm like, wait a second, that Murray Gold's music? And there's been no confirmation of it as far as I know, but I think I think that you're right.
That's got a very distinctive style.
Yeah. So with your massive portfolio of success, what if what I believe it.
Oh, that's really good. Thank you.
Okay. What would happen if the BBC approached you today and asked you to work on Doctor Who? Would you do it?
Do it, definitely. Yeah, I would do. Absolutely, I would. Yeah.
And I believe you could do it. So,
you.
For anyone young and old that may watch this interview in the future, people that have dreams and goals of becoming anywhere near as achieved as you are, what is your best advice that you can give them based on your own experience?
Wow, that's so hard because it's all down to the person, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I think if you can identify that you're quite good at something, and somebody said that, well, you're quite good at this, and it's something that you enjoy. If you just keep working at it, keep doing it over and over and over again, you'll get better at it. And just keep churning stuff out. And in terms of getting noticed and that kind of thing, I mean, I don't think I'm the right person to talk to because it hasn't worked that well for me, really. I mean, I've just been lucky enough to have been asked by people who I happen to know and stuff. But I think now it's if you can just put together a portfolio of stuff that you've done and that you know that you can do and you feel confident of, is try and get out there and network, and often not just networking online, and that's what everybody likes to do now, but you get out there and meet people, actually do the real thing and meet people face to face, you shake hands with them and stuff. I think that can make a big difference as well, meeting people. And I mean, maybe I'm getting a bit old, and I'm not up with the fact that people just don't do that so much anymore. But I think it's making friends and just being nice and being kind to other people, other composers. If you meet them, be nice to them, even if you think they're not that great. But be nice to them anyway. Just be nice to everybody, because somebody might remember that later on and just say, "Oh, we met 20 years ago, and you said this. And I remember you. What do you want to work on this?" Things like that do happen.
Okay, so you're talking about social networking as it is originally was, and practice makes perfect.
Well, not practice so much. I think it's just honing it's trying to identify. I would say try and identify something you are good at, And if you say, yeah, that bit I know I can do well, it's like really hone in on that. And when you've gotten really good at that, you can say, right, I think now that I know I'm good at one thing, I can maybe, diverse into other things as well. But get that one thing where you know your talent is, where it lies, and just get it really, really good, so that people can undeniably, they can't deny that, yes, that is good, what you're doing is good. And then just try and get it out there. And if you are in a position to network with people and actually meet them and go to whatever screenings or whatever, if you can do that, do it.
Okay.
As well as doing the whole virtual online thing as well.
Okay.
I mean, and that's not really what I've done. I've just been lucky, I think. But it's I think, yeah, that's the only way you can do it. Just find your strong point and really, really go for it.
And you would probably say that it's very important to love what you're doing at the same time.
Oh yeah, if you don't love it, I think if you don't love it, you won't be that good at it, unless you've got
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly with music, it's got to be, but maybe that's just the weird thing. This is the problem with me. I think when I'm doing a piece of music, it becomes my baby. It's I think it's alive, and so when I see the spaceships, I think they're making it. So it's hard with me because I'm too sentimental about things, material things like a piece of music. It's like quite sentimental. Right. I don't want to upset it. I don't want anybody to tell it it's rubbish because it will get upset. But that's just the way my twisted brain works. But but some people can actually still operate on a really good level and not actually be that, and just move on to another thing. Say, oh, that was crap. Yeah, I agree. I'll do something else then. So and I think you have to try and walk the fine line between those two states of existence in your mind, really, to not be too sentimental, but be sentimental enough to make sure you get the thing that you love really, really good, to the point where somebody can't turn around and say it's crap or whatever, because it's actually a really nice piece of work. So probably not putting that very well, but
no, you put it very well. You put it very well, and you have put things into perspective, unlike anything that I was hoping for today. Because when you said, yeah, you'll do an interview, I was really wondering, wow, what in the world am I going to ask? Because I'm not a musician. And I like I told you, I'd love to play the piano one day, but I wasn't sure what to ask. And this series of interviews is intended to educate people and inspire people by the words of people that are already successful in these areas, such as yourself. And the things that you've shared with us are awesome, and I really thank you. So, Andy, I considered an honor to have been able to meet and do an interview with you. You are a treasure, and that's exactly what this interview series is about. And people will be able to learn from you in the future. So, is there anything that I did not ask that you would like to answer?
No, I can't think of anything. It's been a real barrage of information, so no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay, Andy. Well, thank you very much. Your time's appreciated, and I will see you around on the internet.
On the internet, absolutely, virtually.
Okay. And I'm gonna go listen. I'm gonna go listen to more of your music. I'm gonna go listen to Lucy Miller this weekend, and I'm gonna pick up on that character incidental
see if you can
sound pattern.
Let me know when you spot it.
Okay, will do. All right.
Yeah.
Have a nice have a nice evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.